At dinner, Mom said without looking up, "Didn't we say this Christmas was just family?" Dad chuckled, "You always make it weird." I smiled, set the present down and walked out. 30 minutes later, notifications rolled in. Rent transfer stopped. Grocery subscription cancelled. Streaming disabled. My sister wrote, "Seriously?" I replied, "I think what finally broke me was the way they acted like I owed them everything. Not just money, though that was the obvious part, but loyalty, silence, and an endless willingness to make their lives easier. They built this fantasy around themselves where I wasn't a person, just a safety net. Something went wrong, Sarah would fix it. Sarah would handle it. Sarah always did. It started small. A few bills here and there when Dad's company downsized. I didn't mind helping at first. Then it became the mortgage. Then Mom's business loan for her miracle skincare products that no one bought. Then Megan's tuition after she failed 2 semesters and lost her scholarship. They said they'd pay me back. They never did. Every time I brought it up, they'd get offended like I was being rude for mentioning money. We're family, Mom would say. Family helps each other. But somehow family only went one way in our house. By last December, I was working 2 jobs, covering their bills and sleeping 4 hours a night. They never asked how I was doing. Didn't even notice the dark circles under my eyes when I came home. The thing about people like them is that they only see you when you stop giving. So I stopped. Quietly, methodically, and with a plan. I bought a single box and wrapped it in deep red paper, tied perfectly with a black satin ribbon. Inside I placed one thing, a letter I'd written and rewritten for weeks. The last thing I'd ever give them. When I walked into their house on Christmas Eve, it smelled the same as always. Burned cookies, cheap wine, and a hint of resentment. Dad was on the recliner laughing at something on TV. Megan was stretched across the couch scrolling through her phone. Mom was setting the table, humming off-key to a Christmas song she probably didn't even like. No one even looked up when I walked in. I might as well have been a delivery person. I set the box down under the tree and sat at the table. That's when Mom finally spoke, still looking at her phone. "Didn't we say this Christmas was just family?" Dad chuckled from his chair. "You always make it weird." I waited a few seconds for someone to laugh, to say it was a joke. But no one did. Megan didn't even glance up. She just smirked like she was in on something. So I smiled, stood up, picked up the box and left. No yelling, no tears. I walked out into the cold night, got into my car and just sat there. The neighborhood glowed with Christmas lights. All those perfect little families pretending everything was fine behind their curtains. I wondered if anyone else was sitting in their car that night realizing how disposable they were to the people who should have cared most. Then my phone buzzed. Rent transfer stopped. Grocery subscription cancelled. Streaming disabled. 30 minutes. That's how fast their world started to crack once I pulled my hand away. Then a text from Megan. "Seriously?" I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the screen. Then I typed back. "Explained to Mom why the mortgage didn't go through this month." I turned off my phone after that. Drove home in silence. When I got back to my apartment, I set the box down on the counter. The same box that had sat under their tree for 10 whole minutes without a single question. Inside was a letter. 1 page, neatly folded, with a list of every dollar I'd spent on them since 2020. Rent, tuition, medical bills, groceries. All itemized. And at the bottom just one sentence. "This was your gift. You didn't want it." I looked at it for a long time before I smiled. It wasn't guilt I felt. It was relief. Sharp and clean, like finally breathing after being underwater for years. They would open that box eventually. They'd read every number and realize what they'd done. But by then I'd already made up my mind. I wasn't going to save them anymore. Not this time. The next morning I woke up before my alarm, which never happens. My body just snapped awake like it had been waiting for something. I reached for my phone already knowing it would be a mess. 32 notifications. Missed calls. Voicemails. Megan, Mom, even Dad had tried, though his were the shortest. 2 calls and nothing else. But let someone else clean up the mess, then get mad when it doesn't go their way. Megan's first message said, "What the hell is going on?" Her second, "Seriously? Then you're being completely selfish. And finally, you don't get to do this just because you're in a bad mood." Mom's text was longer. A full-blown guilt parade. "Sarah, I'm trying to stay calm, but this is really cruel. You don't punish your family like this just because something upset you. I don't even know what this is about. If you needed help, you could have just said so. This isn't how family treats each other. Your dad is really upset. Megan is distraught. Please come over and talk to us like an adult." I didn't respond. I just got up, took a long shower, and went to work like I was any other overworked adult with too many responsibilities and not enough people to share them with. But underneath the surface, something was different. I felt steady. Not happy, not triumphant, just still. It was like after years of screaming inside I'd finally stopped. And in that silence I could breathe. They hadn't opened the box. I knew because Megan sent a photo in the afternoon. The tree was still up and the present sat there exactly where I'd left it. Still unopened. Still ignored. She added one sentence under the photo. "If this is your idea of a joke, it's pathetic." That's when I realized, they weren't even trying to understand. They weren't asking what I was feeling or why I left. They were trying to put everything back the way it was, to smooth it over and bury it. Like always. But this time the ground wasn't smooth. I had pulled everything out by the roots. Over the next few days the consequences rolled in. The mortgage bounced. I got a notification from the bank that their account was frozen for review. I'd set it up under my name when I refinanced the loan for them 2 years ago. Another thing they never thanked me for. Now it was paused until someone actually addressed the missed payments. Mom posted a photo of the fireplace with a glass of wine and the caption, "Trying to stay positive despite the chaos. People show their true colors when it matters most." Megan posted a story about cutting off toxic people, followed by a selfie with a pouty face and a quote about betrayal. I laughed out loud when I saw it. A bitter, honest laugh that felt like the only real thing that had happened in days. Then on New Year's Eve I got an email at 7:03 p.m. Subject, "Quick chat." It was from my boss. I knew instantly. The meeting was 10 minutes long. They thanked me for my work, explained the company was tightening things up and let me go. Downsizing. Reorganization. All the words that mean we don't need you anymore. I stared at my screen after the call, not angry. Just empty. I had lost the job I kept to support people who didn't care if I collapsed. I had used up my energy saving people who never once turned around and asked if I needed saving too. My rent was due in 11 days. My savings weren't terrible, but they weren't deep either. And for the first time in my life I had no backup plan. I sat down that night and opened my own copy of the letter. The one I'd left in their gift box, still sitting unopened under their perfect little tree. The last line hit me harder than I expected. "I gave you all my strength so you wouldn't have to build your own." I'd spent 3 years making sure they never had to grow up. Never had to try. Never had to be accountable. They built their lives on my back and assumed I'd carry them forever. That's when I realized, if I was going down, I wasn't going down alone. I didn't need their approval. I didn't even need their apology. What I needed was for them to feel what I had felt for years. Alone. Used. Powerless. And I was just getting started. 2 days into the new year I turned my phone back on. I had kept it off for the sake of peace, but I knew I couldn't avoid them forever. And part of me wanted to see the damage. I wanted to know how far the ripples had spread. The messages were getting more frantic now. Mom was no longer pretending to be composed. She'd sent 7 in a row, all in different tones, bargaining, scolding, guilt-tripping. The last one was a voice message. I didn't even listen to it. I just deleted it. Then came the emails. One from the mortgage lender addressed to Sarah R. Walker. Past due. Final warning. It was funny. They had no idea the house was still legally tied to me. When they needed it signed over during the refinance, Dad said, "Just do it, Sarah. It's paperwork. You don't want us to lose the house, do you?" I did it because I thought that was love. Now I realized it was leverage. So I made a call. Not to them, to the bank. And I asked one question. What happens if I stop paying? The woman on the line hesitated and then walked me through the consequences. After 3 months of missed payments, they'd start foreclosure proceedings. The house would be put on notice. Could be months before it sold. Maybe more. That was all I needed to know. I ended the call and made a list. It wasn't long. Cancel the auto payment for the property tax. Revoke the power of attorney they tricked me into signing last year. Block Megan from the shared credit account I opened so she could build history. Change the emergency contacts on all my medical forms. Remove Dad from the car insurance I'd let him piggyback on, just until he got back on his feet. It took 20 minutes to do what I should have done 2 years ago. By the afternoon, Megan texted again. "You're going to ruin everything." This time I replied. "I already did. I just stopped pretending it wasn't broken." Then I blocked her. I knew things were starting to really unravel when my friend Ava called me that night. She sounded hesitant. "Your mom showed up at my job." That stopped me cold. Apparently, she walked into Ava's salon, acting like she just happened to be nearby. Tried to play it casual, then started asking questions. If I was okay, if I'd said anything, if I was staying with her. Ava, bless her, didn't give her anything. But that was the moment I realized they weren't just mad. They were scared. They were losing control of me, and for people like them, that was worse than losing money. That weekend I drove by the house. I didn't stop or go inside. Just parked across the street and looked at it. The front lawn hadn't been mowed. Megan's car was gone. Dad's truck was in the driveway, covered in dirt like he hadn't moved it in days. The windows were dark. They were finally getting a taste of reality, the version I had lived in for years. It was bitter, inconvenient, and impossible to ignore. And yet the present was still there. Through the window, under the tree, still unopened. Like they thought if they just kept ignoring it, everything would return to normal. But the thing is, I wasn't coming back. I drove off and didn't look back. That night, I sat at my kitchen table sipping cheap wine, looking at job listings, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not joy. Not satisfaction. But quiet. The kind you earn. And the only person I texted was Ava. Me. Want to take a trip when this is over? Just us. Somewhere far. Ava. Anywhere but here. Me. Deal. Came tucked between an electric bill and a pizza coupon. No return address, just my name scribbled across the front in Mom's handwriting. All shaky and overconfident like always. The envelope was thick, overstuffed. I stared at it for a long time before bringing it inside. I didn't open it right away. I just left it on the counter and made coffee. Walked around. Folded laundry. Anything but that. But the longer I avoided it, the more it pulled at me. When I finally sat down and peeled it open, 3 sheets fell out, all handwritten. Not printed. Not typed. Mom never did like email. The first page was scattered. Apologies buried under excuses. She wrote that they had no idea how much I was helping. That I should have said something earlier. That they thought I liked being the responsible one. Then it got worse. Apparently, Dad's pension stopped coming last year. He hadn't said anything because he didn't want me to worry. They'd used the last of his savings for car repairs and a loan from someone named Ron. Someone I'd never heard of, who was now threatening to take the truck if they didn't pay him back. And then Megan. Mom didn't even try to cushion it. Megan had dropped out. Officially. Not thinking about it, not taking a break. Dropped out 5 months ago. She hadn't told anyone because she wanted to avoid a scene. The tuition money I had been sending? Gone. But the real punch was the side note. She used some of the card money to go to Miami in October. We only found out last week. I dropped the letter onto the table and sat there for a while, staring at the ceiling. That trip. The one she had posted about with her new boyfriend. Poolside cocktails, boat rides, hotel selfies. She had even tagged me in one of the stories. I remember smiling at it while I was walking out of a late shift, half asleep and hungry. I had paid for it. That moment cracked something in me. I opened my laptop, pulled up every record I had. I'd been tracking everything for years, not out of paranoia, but because some part of me always knew they'd try to pretend it hadn't happened. Bank transfers, payment receipts, emails, loan confirmations. It was all there. At first I was just angry. But then my mind shifted. They weren't going to change. And I didn't owe them forgiveness. What I owed was the truth. So I wrote one email. Then another. Then more. First, I sent a formal notice to the property manager. I still held the lease on their house. They'd never transferred it because Dad said it was easier this way. I gave the manager 60 days notice. I would not be renewing. Then I contacted the community college. A polite inquiry, was Megan still enrolled? The reply came in under 5 minutes. She hadn't been a student since April. Then the last one, the one that made my hand shake as I typed. The IRS. I attached all of Mom's fake business write-offs, plus 3 years of income records and every bill I had paid that she claimed on her taxes. Not out of spite, out of finality. I couldn't let them keep pretending they were victims of the world. By Friday I got a call from Ava. Your mom came by the salon. She wasn't even pretending anymore. Just walked in, said she was worried about you, and started asking if I was staying with her, if I was talking to anyone, if I'd said anything about coming back home. Ava didn't say a word, just escorted her out and locked the front door. That night I got a voicemail from Dad. First in weeks. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He just sounded tired. We got the lease notice. Megan's freaking out. Your mom. She's not doing great. You made your point, Sarah. I hope it was worth it. I played it twice. Then deleted it. Because no, it wasn't worth it. Not in the way he meant. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't about power. It was about ending something that should have ended a long time ago. I opened a flight search. Round trip, flexible dates. I didn't know where yet, just that it wouldn't be here. Not this city. Not this life. And definitely not anywhere they could reach me. It was a Wednesday when the voicemail came in. I was half asleep on the couch with my laptop open to a job board when I noticed the missed call from an unknown number. I ignored it at first. Figured it was spam or some recruiter who hadn't checked that I'd marked not available. But a few minutes later the transcript popped up. Hi, this is Officer Bryant from the Westfield Police Department. We received a welfare report filed by a Margaret Walker concerning her daughter, Sarah Walker. If you are Sarah, please return this call at your earliest convenience so we can verify your safety. I read it twice. They reported me missing. It wasn't concern. It wasn't worry. It was control disguised as care, a desperate last move to drag me back into the chaos. They wanted the authorities to track me down, to corner me. They didn't know where I was, what I was doing, or what I'd said, and that terrified them. I called the number back. The officer sounded polite but uncomfortable. I told him I was fine, that I wasn't in danger, and that the only concern was that my family no longer had access to me. He said something about understanding and closed the case. That night, I got a message from Megan. A new number again. They were persistent. You actually called the IRS. Are you trying to destroy us? Do you hate us that much? No greeting. No apology. Just a bitter accusation, like I had broken some invisible family code by defending myself. I stared at the screen for a long time before deleting the message and blocking the number. But this time I didn't just sit with it. I stood up, pulled my suitcase from the closet, and started packing. For months I had been moving through life with one foot still planted in their world, thinking maybe there would be a moment of clarity, some final apology, some last flicker of love that made it all feel worth it. But the voicemail proved it. There was nothing left to fix. They didn't miss me. They missed what I gave them. The silence. The money. The ability to spin their fantasy that everything was fine because Sarah was handling it. Ava came over the next day. She helped me finish packing. She didn't say much at first, just watched me fold clothes into tight, careful bundles and smiled when I paused to breathe. When we sat down later with coffee and toast, she said, "You know they're going to try one more thing, right? Something big." I nodded. "Let them," I said. I booked the ticket that night. One way. Thailand. I'd never been. Didn't speak the language. Didn't even fully know why I picked it. I just knew I needed to be somewhere far, somewhere with no shadows of them. Ava couldn't come. She had clients and her lease wasn't up yet, but she promised to visit. I believed her. 2 days before the flight, something unexpected happened. A handwritten note arrived under my door. No postage. No envelope. Just folded paper. Inside, 4 words. "Please don't do this." No name. Just those words. I knew who wrote it. The handwriting was Dad's. Sloppier than usual. Like he didn't want to be recognized but hoped I'd know anyway. That night I didn't sleep. I walked around my apartment barefoot, thinking about all the times I'd bailed them out without asking for anything. The birthdays I missed. The vacations I skipped. The promotions I turned down because I couldn't relocate because they needed me close. I gave everything. And they gave me a note like that. The next morning I pulled the red box back out from the closet. I had kept it. Rewrapped it. And now I rewrote the letter inside. No more numbers. No receipts. Just this. You took everything I offered and still expected more. Now you have everything you created. This was never about hate. It was about finally choosing myself. I taped the box shut and dropped it in the mail to their house. No signature required. Just an address. The morning of my flight, Ava picked me up. She hugged me at the curb and slipped a small envelope into my bag. I didn't open it until I was on the plane somewhere over the Pacific. Inside she'd written, "Where you're going doesn't matter. What matters is, you finally left. Proud of you, always." I didn't cry. I just folded the note back up and looked out the window. For the first time in my life I wasn't running. I was simply walking away. The flight was long and silent in a way that almost felt staged. No crying babies, no talkative seatmates. Just me, my unread thoughts, and the hum of something ending. I stared at the seat back in front of me and thought about the last 3 years of my life. All the energy I'd poured into people who saw me more as a system than a person. If I had broken down, they would have complained about the inconvenience. When the plane landed in Chiang Mai, it was just past 2 a.m. The heat hit immediately, heavy and sweet, like a place that didn't care about my old life. I stepped off the plane with one suitcase and no one to text. No one was tracking me, no one waiting to be picked up, no one trying to guilt me into coming home. It was the first time in my entire adult life that I didn't belong to anyone. The guest house I'd booked was a narrow building with chipped green shutters and soft yellow lights glowing from the inside. Lynn, the woman at the front desk, took one look at me, handed me a key and simply said, "You're safe now." Not even a question. I don't think she knew how much I needed to hear that. I slept for almost 15 hours. No alarms. No phone. No responsibilities clawing at me. Just a dark room, a fan turning lazily overhead, and the kind of silence that doesn't ask for anything. The days passed like water, smooth, unstructured, peaceful. I walked the streets without checking the time. Ate things I couldn't pronounce. Got lost in markets that smelled like lemongrass and motor oil. I didn't have to explain myself to anyone. I didn't post anything. I didn't update anyone. And no one noticed, which only confirmed what I already knew. They missed the help. Not the human. Exactly a week in, I walked into a quiet cafe with no AC and barely any lighting. The Wi-Fi was slow, but I didn't care. I hadn't checked my email since I left, but I finally opened it, just to see if the world had exploded in my absence. It hadn't. There was one message from Ava. Subject: thought you should know. Read: they're gone. The house is empty. Realtor came by, there's a for sale sign now. Looked rushed. Curtains still up, old dishes on the porch. No clue where they went. No social media updates. Just gone. Also, side note, my tech client needs a copywriter. Remote. Pays good. I told them you're fast and allergic to drama. And I didn't respond right away. I just stared at the screen for a while, letting it settle. They left. The house they begged me to save. The home they said was ours, when it benefited them, and none of my business when I asked questions. They didn't say goodbye. No calls, no texts. No grand emotional apology. Just vanished. And I felt nothing. Not joy. Not revenge. Just the absence of pressure. Like a scream had stopped. Like my body was no longer bracing for impact. I closed the email and went outside. It was raining, warm and soft, like the city didn't care that I hadn't showered or worn makeup in days. I bought a plastic poncho from a corner stand and kept walking. That night, back in my room, I opened the notebook I'd packed. The same one I used to scribble down grocery lists and payment reminders. The one that used to hold their lives together. Now it was mine. On the first clean page I wrote, "They never broke me. They just taught me to never let it happen again." I was their plan A. Now I'm my own. I looked at it for a long time. Then I picked up my phone, the same one I hadn't powered on in over a week, and turned it back on. 37 missed messages. 4 voicemails. 2 emails marked urgent. I deleted them all without listening. Then I opened Ava's message again and typed, "Tell your client I'm in. I work best when no one's asking me to set myself on fire for their comfort." And after that, I booked a train ticket south. I didn't know where I'd stop. Maybe a beach town, maybe somewhere even quieter. It didn't matter. I didn't have to ask anyone for permission. No one needed me to fund their excuses anymore. I wasn't theirs. And I finally was mine. A week later, I found myself sitting in a hammock strung between 2 trees outside a little beachside cafe in Koh Lanta. I had taken a night bus down the coast just because I could. No itinerary, no reason beyond the craving to see a new horizon. The ocean moved slowly, like it had all the time in the world, and for once I did too. I watched a pair of kids chase crabs along the shoreline, their laughter echoing down the beach. No part of me felt like I was missing something back home. The truth was, I didn't even think of it as home anymore. Later that evening, I messaged Ava. Still alive. Still breathing. Might never leave. She responded instantly. You shouldn't.